that's so bad. Maybe I'm like the anti-hygge-hyggeist. Huh?
Let's get into it. This is Barely Keeping It Together.
Guys, I'm so excited to talk to you about hygge today, but first I wanted to back up and give you a little bit of background about, first of all, why I want to talk about hygge, second of all, why it's important to talk about hygge, and just like where my head is at and how we got here. So the first thing I want to talk about is that I'm super interested in how to live your best life, how to live your happiest life, what are the components of happy people and living all over the world. You guys know I'm based here in Chicago in the USA, but I'm definitely interested in how other cultures approach day-to-day life because, the American way is not the only way. So I want to talk to you guys all about Mediterranean living, the diet of Mediterranean diet, siestas. I want to talk about slow island life and their stress-free lifestyles. I also want to talk about the hustle and bustle of American culture, whether that is New York City or Chicago or even, rural America. Like, what are the different cultures of the world and what are the components that we can sort of pick and choose to build our own happiest and best lives? So that's a little bit of background of why I wanted to start this topic overall. And then I want to get into hygge and why I wanted to specifically talk and start this conversation in this series of sort of living your best life with hygge. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, the word is hygge. It's Hygge. It is a Danish word that actually does not translate directly into English. There are many explanations of what hygge is, and this video is overall sort of gonna be an explanation of what hygge is. But the Danish people have been rated year after year after year, survey after survey after survey, to be the happiest and most satisfied people in the world. So there is something to the Danish culture and the way that they're living their life that the citizens of their country are statistically happier than everyone else. So I think it's important to get into sort of one of the components that lead to their happiness, because it is not just hygge that makes the Danish people so statistically happy, but this is definitely a signature part of their culture and something that's worth looking into. And then also I want to get into sort of how we can add a little bit more hygge into our lifestyles, whether you live in the US like me or you live somewhere else. There is elements of hygge that we can all bring into our lives and potentially make ourselves a little bit happier. So why not try? And by the way, if you guys are here for interiors, hygge is all about interior design, ambiance, and that kind of thing. And if you guys love personal development, just like me, there's also a lot of other components that go into hygge. So also there was something else I wanted to add to the whole conversation of Danish people being incredibly happy and satisfied people. It's very interesting because in Denmark, they actually get a lot less sunlight than the rest of the world. Now, me living in Chicago, I'm very interested in this because we're getting into those months where sunlight is not that much here also. So it's interesting in, vitamin D and creating sunlight in your life is known scientifically to make you happier. In the summer, I wake up earlier, I'm happier, I've got more energy because I have all that sunlight from early in the morning until late at night. But in these winter months, it can be brutal not having that much sunlight. So taking a little bit of a lesson from the happiest people in the world about how to be happy through quite literally the darkest of times, pun intended, I think is interesting and definitely something we should take note of. Let's get into a little bit more information all about hygge. So what is hygge? Now, I'm going to reference this book. It is The Little Book of Hygge by Mike Wiking, who is actually the CEO of the Happiness Research Institute. So he quite literally studies happiness, what makes people happy, and he wrote this book on hygge, which I will suggest that you guys all read this book. I will link this book down below if you guys are interested in it. But I love the way that he actually describes what hygge is. It is the art of creating intimacy, coziness of the soul, the absence of annoyance, or taking pleasure from the presence of soothing things. Somebody else defined it as cocoa by candlelight. So to me, I actually find the absence of annoyance to be an interesting definition because your girl is annoyed a lot. So That's so bad. Maybe I'm like the anti-hygge-hyggeist. Huh? I don't know. The absence of annoyance is definitely something that's interesting to me because I live my life annoyed, honey. So how can we get more zen and less annoyed with the Danish people? So that is what hygge is. It does not translate directly into English. There are actually words from all over the world that translate to similar definition. Canadians have the word hominess, and that is similar but not the same as well. The Germans have another word that's very similar. Of course, I can't pronounce it. I don't speak German, but there are a lot of elements that go into hygge, and I would like to tell you guys about some of them if you're interested in having a more zen, more cozy, and lack of annoyance in your actual life. Now, you guys, I wore this sweater for you because this is so hygge. It is like the coziest, comfiest turtleneck. It's actually December here. It doesn't look that way out the window, but today I had a hygge moment with my family, and we went and we picked out our Christmas tree for the upcoming Christmas season, and that is such a hygge moment. So what does it mean that it's hygge? It's everything cozy. So think of ambiance, fire, candles, warm, cozy blankets, and soft, cozy things. So this sweater is like a warm, cozy blanket, right? And then things that you would hear. I'm gonna go through your senses. So first of all, what you're feeling is warmth, candles, cozy, snuggly. Just think about feeling like you're just wrapped up in a blanket. You know what would be hygge that's actually very American is weighted blankets, right? We here in the US have been super into weighted blankets for anxiety, and they have been proven to help with anxiety, and it's the epitome of hygge. It is a heavy blanket that cozies you and weighs you down. That's the epitome of hygge, guys. So, and then also in terms of things that you're hearing, it would be soft music, it would be the voices of friends, it would be a fire in the background, no loud noises, no electronics, nothing like that. Now, a key element that I think is often misunderstood about hygge is actually a social activity. So generally it is between 2 and 5 people. Think about a small intimate gathering amongst close friends. One of the things that Mike talks about in this book is really interesting, that hygge, one of the dark sides of hygge is that it is hard to break into friend groups in Denmark because people are so tightly knit. It's like bonds that you have forever. Think about like your best friends from high school. I know my best friends from high school, we definitely have very close-knit relationships, and it's hard to get into it. But that's one of the things about hygge is actually like socializing but not partying. So they also talk about in this book, which is very interesting, that it's like the perfect amount of socializing for introverts because it is casual conversations, it's game nights, it's those sort of things. Because statistically, beyond hygge, beyond Denmark, the entire world, the happiest, most satisfied people in the world are the people who have close relationships in their life. So if you don't have close relationships, that's one of the things that leads to the happiest life that you can live in the whole world. We can get into that more in another video, but hygge includes socializing with small groups of people. So whether that is friends, whether that is your partner, whether that is your direct family. So as you guys know, I'm currently quarantined here with my family. I have my brother, my sister-in-law, my nephew, and my parents. Now, that does lead to annoyance, I'm just saying. But beyond that, it is the perfect hygge group, right? So it gives me enough socialization with the people that I love, but it's not a large party or social gathering, if that makes sense. So definitely a little bit of socializing in the hygge lifestyle. Now, in terms of how the room feels, you're gonna have very dim, soft lighting. Apparently, the Danish are famous for their soft lighting, and there's a very famous light architect, I can't remember his name, it's like Paul something. I can link some of his stuff below, and you guys have probably seen a lot of his work, but definitely not having direct lighting or a lot of lighting. They like soothing, warm tones in terms of the lighting. They love candlelight and fires, as if I couldn't say that enough, but candlelight and fires are the epitome of hygge. That being said, something that I found very interesting is they actually don't use scented candles. Your girl loves a scented candle. I am all about like a holiday candle. I mean, consider me a classless American, but I've got a cinnamon candle here. I've got a Fraser fir in the other room. It just makes my soul feel good. But they're actually using non-scented candles and regular fires. So you're not gonna smell like scented candles or anything artificial. It's all natural scents. And now the other thing that you could smell in a hygge experience is going to be food, because it is all about comfort foods in hygge. So you can think of warm beverages like maybe a mulled wine or a hot cocoa or a tea or a coffee. Those are very big hygge beverages. And then tons of like sweets and baked goods and those sorts of things, but also all of the comfort foods. So over in Denmark, they definitely eat comfort foods that are a little different than I'm used to in America. Very meat heavy in terms of, you know, meats I'm not necessarily comfortable eating, but if we were to sort of make it American, like more comfort foods, so think chicken pot pies or bacons or pork chops and applesauce or a ham or a Thanksgiving dinner would be so hygge. If you had Thanksgiving dinner by candlelight, that is the epitome of hygge. So I hope you guys are sort of getting the idea of what hygge includes. And then also soft, comforting music, if there is any music. So maybe a soft jazz or classical music, or maybe even Christmas carols would be a really good one. I love to play Christmas carols this time of year, but definitely no electronics, because it is all about experiencing and spending time with friends and loved ones. So you may also do an activity like play a board game, or you could just sit around and socialize by the fire or whatever it is that you guys are doing. So that is what hygge looks and feels like, and sort of how you can actually practice it in your own way. Now, what I would suggest for you is to make it fun. We actually did this here last night. We did a hygge cocktail hour before dinner, and we had a fire going on in the fireplace. We had mulled wine, and then we had a cheese platter with apples and listened to Christmas carols and just sort of chatted before it was time to have dinner. And it was just sort of, you know, a nice way to connect before we cooked dinner for the evening. I would suggest that you either get together with your close friends, I mean, obviously depending on quarantine, or family or loved ones, and put together what you consider to be a fun hygge night and see what it does for your overall satisfaction. Now, in terms of hygge, I think that it is not just one night of it. I think it's the compound effect of continually socializing, giving yourself grace, living a cozy, warm, comforting life that adds to the overall happiness of people's life. I hope that that sort of illustrates to you that it's not just I hygge one time and now I'm a happy girl. It is an ongoing practice of self-care, enjoying time with loved ones, taking it slow, and giving yourself grace. That is the way that I look at hygge, and you know your girl loves to be cozy. I mean, right? You know what else is the very hygge? Snuggling your dog, right? Oh God, it's so true. Anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this introduction to hygge, just a little bit of information about hygge and how we can incorporate it into our lives. I plan on continuing to make content about hygge and incorporating it into my life because, again, I'm in that dark season here in terms of weather in Chicago, and I'm going to be going through it. And my goal is to live my happiest and best life. So also that's going to involve thinking about other cultures and things that other people do. If there's a culture or something you guys want to hear about, leave me a comment down below. I would love to look into all different sorts of cultures. Just off the top of my mind, I know that I'm going to look at like the Hawaiian lifestyle. I know I'm going to look at the Mediterranean lifestyle, but I would love to hear if there's anything else you guys want to know, because I want to know it too. I want to be a sponge and soak up this information. I want to incorporate it into my surroundings. You guys know I love beautiful interior decor. So if I can incorporate that as well, I just, you know, I'm super interested in this topic. I hope it's interesting for you guys to talk about as well. And I am going to have a quick guide to hygge over on my website as well, which is barelykeepingittogether.com. And I will continue this conversation on Instagram as well. So go follow me over there at Barely Keeping It Together. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I love chatting with you. Happy holidays and I love you. Bye.